Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tat Talk. It's another Monday morning. This is season 2, episode 15. And here we are. I just want to say we're all very aware of some of the negative stuff that's happening in the world right now. But we're going to take this next half an hour or an hour to be positive. We're going to have plenty of time to worry about what's going on, and let's all try and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So today we've got two wonderful guests, brilliant in their own right, great entertainers, and I'm actually really looking forward to meeting both of them, to talking to both of them. I know both of them. First of all, originally from Australia, he's now in Las Vegas, and as you can see, it looks like he's been in quarantine for about 3 decades and on the cast. Welcome to the show from Sixtiesmania, Andrew Hill.
Hello, Terry. Good to be here. Good, mate, good. This is my Brian Wilson period, you know. He lies in bed and doesn't shave.
I'm fully expecting to see Wilson come up and make an appearance from the movie.
He'll be here soon.
That's great. Now, you told me you're from Newcastle.
Newcastle, Australia, yeah.
So whenever I'm talking to people from Newcastle on the show, I always say, oh, my cousin lives in Newcastle. And they go, that's just north of Sydney, right? But you're from Newcastle. Newcastle,
Australia, yeah. So I might know your cousin. Who knows?
You never know.
You never know.
Jackie Pocock. Jackie for ages. Well,
it's a beautiful area. Newcastle's lovely. It's right on the beach. It's a beachside kind of city. Everything revolves around the beach and outdoors, and it's beautiful.
Good stuff. And also on the show from New York City right now, he's in the Bronx. He's smack in the middle of all of this, but one of the best, I'm going to say tribute artist, but he's so much more than that in the industry. Welcome to the show, Scott Moreau. Scott, how are you?
Good, Terry. How you doing?
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What's it like over there? New York sounds a bit crazy.
Well, New York as a whole is a little crazy. Thankfully, I'm up in a pretty quiet neighborhood in the Bronx, so we're not seeing a whole lot of action. It's just been, a lot of people just trying to do their part, staying safe and keeping everyone else safe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have enough guitars in the background there, by the way? How many have you got there?
Well, let's see. I got one. There's one empty case there, but there are 3 guitars over this shoulder, and then over that shoulder is a banjo and a mandolin that I either play poorly or am trying to learn how to play.
It's interesting. We're all learning new skills in quarantine, and but I'm just learning to play the piano again because I play so seldom these days.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show. We're going to have some fun today. Make it lighthearted. Thanks to everyone for watching. We've got a lot of people saying hi on the feed, and as you can see, I'm in my my book library that makes it look like I'm intelligent reading those books, but I'm neither in a library or read many books. So there you go. So first question, this one's going out to Andrew first. Andrew, the people who are alive these days, who would you name one person you'd most like to meet, and what would be the first question you ask them?
Oh, there's so many people you think you'd like to meet, and I've met a lot of people in my career that were heroes of mine, like, the Everly Brothers and those type of people. Probably I'd like to meet, probably now, I think, initially I might have said Paul McCartney, but I probably think now I'd be swayed more, someone like John Fogerty, I think. Ooh. And I would just like to ask him, basically, it's hard to ask one question. It's like when I met the Everly Brothers, it's like, what do you ask these guys? And they were talking stories about, Buddy Holly and Johnny Cash. They were telling all these great stories. So it's hard to have just one question, but I'd basically say, with John, I'd probably say, what kept you going through your darkest period of when he lost all these song rights and all that period in his life, that he's come out of it now at 75, sounding, looking, and being the best he's been ever.
Brilliant. What about you, Scott?
First of all, I'm extremely jealous that you got to meet the Everly Brothers.
That was amazing.
And it's funny because you said you might say Paul McCartney, and I was thinking that's who I would want to meet, just because he's been through so many decades of music and he continues to make music. And I'm reading Elvis's biography, Mystery Train, right now, the first of the 2 books in the series. And just thinking about the fact that Elvis was sort of the first of his kind, and at least there were 4 Beatles, so they could kind of commiserate together. I'd just be curious what it was like for them to meet Elvis, during that time period, and just like how crazy it could be for the 5 of them to be in one place and really only know they're the only people in the world that know what it feels like to be in that situation. So that's what I'd want to ask him is like, what was it like meeting Elvis and knowing that you were 5 people on the planet that felt that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Great answers.
Totally, yeah.
I'm going to stay with you, Scott. You personally, what would you consider to be your greatest strength and your biggest weakness? You.
Let's see. Biggest strength. Probably my listening skills. I consider myself a good listener. If you're a friend of mine and you need to talk, I'm not going to be the person who's going to, try to give you unsolicited advice. I feel like I'm a pretty good sounding board. I've gotten some calls this week from people that have sort of proved that, who just needed to talk to somebody. I don't know. I guess a weakness might be I lose my patience sometimes. I wouldn't say easily, but sometimes I might be working on a project or something, and I get a little frustrated and lose my patience. So that's maybe one a downfall.
Cool. What about you, Andrew?
Let's see. I think my best strength, being from in the industry here, I think would be basically being to see through issues and problems and get a result of something, whether it's being stuck in Malaysia with the band and the agency's folded up and we're stuck there with no tickets or passports and thinking, how do we get home? Things like that. I'm pretty good at sorting those type of things out and issues that have risen over the years. People skills, I'm pretty good with people skills. I'm not too bad with that in those areas, with dealing with people and having a big show and having 8 different personalities within the show. And every person in the show thinks that their issue is the most important issue in their life. And to everyone else, they don't care less. So you have to deal with everyone's, what you think is a grain of sand on the beach to someone else is the entire beach. That's their whole issue. And it's such a major thing, but for your level, you think it's nothing. So you have to check with people and find out what those things are and take it personally and listen to them.
Cool. I love it. All right, here's a very random question. Again, staying with you, Andrew, very random. If you could hack into one computer, any one computer in the world, whose computer would you choose to hack into?
Oh, let's see. I would probably say, because you want to know everything, probably Area 51 to find out about the aliens. There you go. If they did exist.
Yeah.
There's too many computers to hack into, isn't it? There's too many. But Area 51 would be pretty good, about, stuff that they've kept hidden from people.
Absolutely. What about you, Scott?
Man. I don't know. Probably the CEO of Apple or a big tech giant like that. Probably the CEO of Apple, to see sort of all of the secret projects that are being planned, that, the technology that we don't know is coming out, but they already have in the works. I'd be interested to see, just some of the crazy stuff they have planned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd like to hack into the laboratory in Wuhan. That's a whole other thing. So, like I said, 2 people here, great careers. We're going to chat with Scott about his career. Now, I know, for those who don't know, his show, Walkin the Line, which is a tribute to Johnny Cash and his life and his career and his music. It's stunning. And anytime we've put it in a venue, the response from the audiences and the bookers has been amazing. We're going to take a look at Scott in action first, and then we'll talk to him about his career. Check this video out of Scott Moreau.
Well, my daddy left home when I was 3, and he didn't leave much to my mom and me. Just this old guitar and an empty bottle of booze. Now, I don't blame him run and hit, but the meanest thing that my daddy ever did was, before he left, He went and named me Sue. Well, you wonder why I always dress in black. Why you never see bright colors on my back. And why does my appearance seem to have a somber tone? Well, there's a reason for the things that I have on. Now, he said, I got livestock, I got livestock, I got cows, I got pigs, I got sheep, I got mules, I got all livestock. And I shut my woman down, I went right home and I went to bed. I stuck that loving 44 beneath my head. I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when, but I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Play that guitar. Hey Porter, would you tell me the time? How much longer will it be till we cross that Mason-Dixon line?
That's phenomenal, Scott. Tremendous stuff. You know, we had management with Booker Walkin the Line in partnership with Showtune Productions, which is JR Mac Alexander. JR is someone I have a lot of respect for. A lot of people, we do a lot of the similar stuff, but I love working with JR. He's a phenomenal musician, but just an all-around great person. And you've been working with him for quite a while, right?
Yeah, I've known JR for, I guess, well, over 15 years now. I've been working with him in this realm as a Johnny Cash tribute artist for about 10 years. I met him about 15, 16 years ago when he was doing a lot of music direction for a series of theaters that I worked for at the time. And I mean, that's how we became friends. And then eventually how I created my tribute show.
Great. No, JR's great. I love working with him. And like I said, I got a lot of respect for him. We've got someone who's viewing here, Linda Wolf, who goes and hounds all our takes a zillion photographs. But Linda, she just said, I've seen your Walkin the Line show 3 times. What's your favorite song to sing in the show? You are amazing.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, I Walk the Line is easily my favorite of his songs and one of my favorites to perform. I find it's always extremely challenging. You know, it's just a very personal song to him. It's become a very personal song to me. But one of my really new favorites is Man in Black. It's interesting because I don't think a lot of people know the song, but it's getting more and more of a great response every time I do it. Just because the lyrics are so timeless and, you know, regardless of what it is that we're dealing with in our country, I think it speaks to people and it speaks to sort of the civil unrest regardless of what it is. And I think I don't know, it's just an important song.
Excellent. So how did it start for you? How did the music career start? How young were you when you maybe picked up a guitar or started performing? And was there a moment when you thought, hey, I might do this for the rest of my life?
Well, I started singing when I was little, but I didn't really think that was a career choice. I thought everybody just sort of, stood in their living room, put on, Everly Brothers records and sang along to them. I really didn't get involved I was in, band and chorus and stuff in middle school and high school, but it was really in high school that I started getting more interested in theater. Probably the moment was my family and I took sort of a life-changing trip to London when I was 14. I turned 15 there, and we saw Les Miserables. And that was kind of the moment I was watching it on stage. I'd seen quite a bit of theater and quite a bit of musical theater, but seeing that on stage, I just was so overwhelmed. I thought that's what I want to do. So I went to school for music theater. I graduated with a BFA in musical theater from Illinois Wesleyan University, and got my first professional job in 1999 when I was about to be a junior in college, and kind of haven't looked back. Predominantly for about 10 years, I was doing all sorts of different musicals all over the country. And then about 10 years ago, I got my big break with the first national tour of $1 Million Quartet. And I was out with that for all 4 years. That's also when I got my union card. I'm a proud member of Actors Equity. And that's also around the time that I started creating my tribute shows. And that's when I created Walkin' the Line, was in, again, just about nine years ago.
How did it feel to be part of that, what turned out to be a big 4-year deal, but it must have been the vibe that show was getting when it first went out? How did that feel?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, we played 215 American cities. We played Tokyo. We played Osaka, Japan. We played Toronto. I went to Alaska for the first time. I mean, it was just an unreal experience. And the response to the show, I mean, you assume that you're going to get a great response in places like Memphis, which the first time we played there, it was standing room only for the entire week, and people were giving standing ovations every time somebody walked on stage. But one of the places that I was really surprised was Des Moines, Iowa, of all places. It's a great city, don't get me wrong, but man, they went crazy for that show in Des Moines.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Have you done Walkin' the Line, your tribute show in Des Moines?
I haven't. No. Mostly in Arizona. I had a great week in Texas that you booked just before kind of everything hit. Again, probably the best response I've ever had was in March at the Empire Theater in San Antonio. They were unbelievable. Most of the pictures that are showing during this feed, I think, were taken then, and I mean, the smiles on my face are not faked, because it was hard to almost stay in character because I was so overwhelmed with how positive they were responding to me.
I spoke to the venue. I speak to all the venues, obviously, after the gig, and the whole tribute vibe in the Performing Arts Center is starting to get some real credibility as an art form of its own, and your show really adds to that. So when I spoke to the venue, they were freaking out a little bit. They felt they had Johnny Cash there, and that's what a lot of the tribute acts are now, is that you do feel that you're seeing something very close to the original, But it's great, and the Texas run was a blast. What a shame it just all came tumbling down for now. But we'll be back. We'll be back next year, and we'll be touring you all around. That's for sure. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Great chatting with you, Scott.
Thank you.
I might convince you to get the mandolin out and show us what you can't play yet.
We'll see. Well, her name's June, so
There you go. That's a good name. Andrew, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good, very good.
Andrew's from Australia. He's
I'm a convict.
The creator and founder of Sixtiesmania, which is a fantastic throwback to the 1960s and all that was great about that decade. But let's first talk about this beard and this hair. What's happening?
Well, I just thought initially, I thought, you know what? I couldn't get a haircut anyway. It was all shut down. I thought, you know what? I'm going to grow my beard again. I thought I'll do that. I'm not dressing. I want to accept my boxer dog right here. I'll save some money. And then it took a life of its own. So what happened is, I think nearly every out of work, like either Beatles guy or musician, they all grew beards. So it became a thing that, are you growing a beard? Are you growing a beard? So I thought, oh, why not do that? And now it's taken a life of its own. And I'm getting Joe Cocker. I'm getting, when I have the glass on and the hair's all puffed up, I'm getting Jeff Lynne. I'm getting Homeless Guy. I'm getting Nick Nolte down now in Beverly Hills. Just the whole plethora of names.
I like the sound of an ELO tribute with Jeff Lynne leading it. I like that idea.
Yeah, I don't know if we could get that on some of those stages, though. A lot of people.
Yeah, I know. So, Australia, tell us about the early days for you, the early days of the career.
Okay, well, I started, I left school, and like most people leave school, had no idea what the hell I wanted to do. And I was already starting in bands then, just friends, and we were playing in pubs and stuff. And I had a job actually at a television station in Newcastle, Channel 3. And we had a gig that night at a pub, and I couldn't get out, so I took a sickie. Lo and behold, at the pub, the general director of the Channel 3 was in the pub drinking with his friends and saw me. Monday morning, there's my walking ticket. We no longer need you here. So then I became a full-time musician basically after that. And then I joined a tribute show in Australia. It was called the Beatniks. They did Beatles stuff. They were the first ones in Australia to do it. So I was touring all around Australia doing that because I'm left-handed. I play bass. I do the Paul McCartney in the show and so forth. So, it kind of helped being a left-handed player. A lot of times, too, you walk into a guitar store, there's one left-handed bass or guitar out of 3,000. We're very prejudiced against us lefties.
Yeah, well,
and so I started doing that, and then I formed my own show. I formed the Australian Beatles show, so I did a Beatles tribute, and we toured that consistently throughout Asia. So we went to Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Malaysia. I mean, everywhere. We toured consistently up in these places, and that was great. That was fabulous. A lot of fun. Great dealing with that. But obviously some dramas every now and then. And then basically we got so this is before the internet, before anything. So in Australia, I thought, I want to go overseas. I want to, take the band to Canada or America. So in those days, there was no internet. You couldn't look up. So I had to hop on the train, go to Sydney, a couple of 100 miles away, go to the international section of the telecom to look at the international telephone books. Okay. And I had to go through the yellow pages, look up entertainment, and had to write all the phone numbers and the fax. And this is the fax days. So I wrote all the fax numbers down for these different agencies. So I just sent out probably 50 faxes to places, thinking something will happen. And I got like 4 replies. And then from those 4 replies, it weeded down from the tire kickers to basically this guy will do something in Canada. And his name was Don Adams. And Don, he brought us over to Canada to tour Sixtiesmania. And when we went there, we were doing places like the Calgary Stampede. We were doing things like K-Days, the P&E, all the big festivals in Canada. So, and at the same time I was doing that in Australia at the time, it was not being a good time for music because a lot of the pubs in Australia from the 80s had bands. That was the thing. That was the social media back then. You go and see a band 5 nights a week. That's where you met girls. That's where you met your friends. That's where you went. And then the pubs got the permission from the government to put poker machines in their pubs. Now, poker machines make the publican a lot of money, and bands don't. So all of a sudden, those venues they had poker machines in them. So a lot of the live entertainment disappeared out of the pubs in Australia. And then so what happened is all these bands, so little room. The prices drove down on the bands to get work. So everyone undercut each other. This is not good. So I started looking further afield and took the show over to Canada. And, I had to pay for everyone's airfares, had to borrow money, loan money to get there. And we started to, and went over very well. And at that time, there was 5 of us, and we're all Australians. And it was interesting. It was a real challenge. And when we hit Canada in that period, it was very funny. It was the achy, breaky heart period of music. So everyone was line dancing. And what happened, though, and I think the pubs and the clubs figured this out, the people that went there line dancing weren't spending money on alcohol. They were using the venue as their social club. they realised soon enough, we've got to stop that. We've got to bring the bands back so people buy booze and drink. So we did that. And we went to those clubs. And it was great. And we went all over the place in Canada touring, everywhere. We drove everywhere. And then we finally got across into the States around 97 into Bellingham to the Skagit Casino there. And we played there. And that went really well. And we're there, got a 6-month contract there doing the show. And we added, 3 black girls to the Motown section. We added dancing girls. We had it was a big show. And then after that, we decided to go, we got a call to go to Wendover. Do you know where Wendover is?
No.
Wendover's on the top of Nevada, just on the border of the Utah border and Nevada on the I-80 up the top there. Okay. And Wendover's famous for 2 things. It's famous for the Bonneville Salt Flats, where they do the car races. And remember the movie The World's Fastest Indian?
Yeah.
About the motorbike, about the English guy, Hannibal Lecter, whatever his name was, the actor. Anyway, that is famous for that. And also, there's an old airfield there. It's where they trained the crew for the Enola Gay to drop the atomic bomb. And the hangar's still there. But apart from that, there's 4 casinos, 1 traffic light. That's it. But we played there, and we did the show there. And 2 weeks turned into 3 years there in their showroom. And we got all the people from Salt Lake would come out and see the show, and that was great. And from there, one of the guys who worked there got a gig at the Castaways in Vegas. And he said, do you want to come down here and play here in Vegas? I said, okay. So we came down. They said, can you do 2 weeks? And I said, well, can we make it 3 weeks? And I said, I'm not wanting 3 weeks to be greedy for more money. I'm wanting 3 weeks for word of mouth to get out for people. They tell their friends that they'll actually come back and see the show. I said, if we don't bring crowds after 3 weeks, we're fine, we'll go. So after the second week, we did the show there. And this is the full show with 5 guys, and we had 4 girls, and so forth. The place, you couldn't move in it. It was packed, absolutely packed. And so the owner of the casino said, we want you to stay here. And because we're bringing people from really nice areas to this crappy area of town where the casino was on Boulder Highway. And that turned into about a year there playing at that casino. Yeah. And like all casinos, I went Chapter 11, So that happened. But then by the time we were already established ourselves and so forth, and then we went to the Debbie Reynolds Casino and we tried to 4-wall there and lost a lot of money real quickly. And then after that, a friend of mine called and said, I'm opening up a new club in Hong Kong. Do you want to come there? I said, okay. So we put a show together and we went to Hong Kong for a year. And here's just a bit of trivia here, just a funny story. So we were playing there. We were the show band at the dinner club in Lang Kwai Fong. And in the evening, the Filipino band would play after us. Fantastic band. I loved this band. They were so good. And they could sing anything. About a year and a half after we finished that contract in Hong Kong, one of the band members rings up and said, did you hear the news? I said, what? He said, about Arnell. What about Arnell? He's the new lead singer of Journey.
Gotcha, okay. Brilliant.
So he was in that band there, and he was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, so many Filipino bands that are just really high quality.
The thing that made it different when I saw them, though, Terry, the Filipino bands love the ballads. They love the Whitney Houston. They love the ballads. These guys rocked. And I was watching Arnell singing Sting, singing Plant, singing everything. Like, man, this kid's got some pipes.
Well, we've talked a lot about Sixtiesmania, but I want the audience to actually see what you do because it's it's so good. And when you go and watch Sixtiesmania, well, especially those that lived through the era, you just feel like you're back there again. Check this out. This is Sixtiesmania.
Just one look, that's all it took you, yeah. Just one look, that's all it took you, yeah. Girl, you really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing now. Bus stop waiting, she's there. I say, please share my umbrella. All that summer we enjoyed it. Wind and rain and shine. I can feel her new expression on my face. I can hear the guitars playing lovely tunes. Every And I tried, and I tried, and I tried. I can't get no. There she was, just walking down the street singing, do-a-diddy-diddy-dum, diddy-do. I wish they all could be Californian. I wish they all could be Californian. I wish they all could be Californian girls. She wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. Anyway, yeah, I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there ain't no place I'm going to. 'Cause I've made my mind up, you're going to be mine. Then I saw her face, now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. But it's all right now. In fact, it's a guess. But it's all right. Jumping jack flash is a guess. Me and you.
Well, I'm just thankful you play left-handed guitar because it's the only way I'd recognize you in the video.
It's good, isn't it? No one would know who I am once you take the wigs off and all the makeup. It's great.
Especially now you do a Wolfman Jack tribute to the 1960s.
It'd probably tear my throat to shreds.
Good stuff. Two amazing shows. Any of our bookers that are watching now, we know we get a lot of them. Bring these guys back to your venue next year. They're both incredible shows. Superb. We're going to move to the part of the show. It's called Where in the World is Terry?
Where in the world is Terry? Where in the world is Terry?
Now, as you know, we've been sharing some of the hosting duties on TAD Talk, and it's the same. Sam Kane is going to be hosting tomorrow. Nick Davies is hosting on Wednesday, and as well in the special show we've got later on today. And I'll be back on Thursday for our 50th episode. But I've noticed with Nick particularly, he likes to make fun of where I am, and so for Andrew and Scott, it's quite easy. What I do is I change my background like this.
Yes.
And you got to take a look and, kind of tell me where I am.
Oh, should be somewhere in Canada, near Banff, Canada, or somewhere like that?
No, that's not right. Any ideas, Scotty?
Oh, man. I don't know. Big Sur. No, I have no idea.
That's in the glaciers of Alaska.
That's not a glacier. That's a mountain.
That's only it's behind me.
Well, no, see, that doesn't count then. We couldn't see the glacier.
So that isn't the question I'm going to do. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put me on a set of a television show. You're going to tell me what show it is. I'm going to start with you, Scott. Now, this should be easy. But for you, Scott, where am I?
Looks like the Tonight Show. No,
it's not the Tonight Show.
Is it Stephen Colbert?
It's not that neat. No, need to move out of the way a little bit. Give a little bit more of a clue.
Okay, it looks like it's got to be in Los Angeles, I'm guessing. Doesn't look like the New York skyline.
Well, I think it is New York, but I could be completely wrong here. But I think it is. Of course, unless I just Googled the photograph and it's got the wrong information. But no, actually, my wife's watching the show and she just guessed it right. So,
interesting.
Do you have any ideas, Andrew?
Is it Conan O'Brien?
It is not. It is the David Letterman show.
Ah.
Well, close.
Different angle that we're used to looking at, I think. Andrew, this one's for you.
Okay.
I think this is pretty easy, but maybe not. Andrew, which TV set am I on? Yes, I'm hiding the important bit.
Let's see, a TV set. Give me one clue.
That was it.
That wasn't a clue. That was a nudge.
One clue is it's a TV show.
TV show. Is it a recent show or an older show?
I believe it's relatively recent.
It's not Fuller House.
No, it's similar. See, Cindy Brock just came on and got it. So did Moreau, Ogletree.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she did get it. So it's just you that sucks, Andrew. So
well, it's obviously on a channel I don't get on my television. Is it something to do with HGTV?
No.
No, I don't. I don't know. Why do you have something like the Brady Bunch or something easy?
I'm thinking it's either The View or maybe Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen!
There we go. All right.
Damn it.
I didn't tell you is that was for $2. So
You need to have retro ones like Hogan's Heroes or Beverly Hillbillies.
We'll do one of those one day. Absolutely. All right. Well, great. Well, you win $2 there, Scott. It's pretty incredible.
What's that?
You're going to win. You win $2 for that. Andrew now owes you $2. That's
Hang on.
So the next question I ask of every guest on the show, and it is this: if either of you, both of you, could spend the next 60 minutes with any two people, dead or alive, could be anybody, any two people in one place, who would you like to spend the next hour with? Two people at the same time. Where would you go and what would you talk about? Two people, one place. We're going to start with you, Andrew.
Okay, let's see. Two people, one place. Probably John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
And probably Frank Sinatra.
Okay, JFK and Frank Sinatra.
Mm-hmm. And I'd probably do it actually either in Vegas or Palm Springs, but more probably Vegas in the future now, so he gets to get his idea of the change and what he sees now compared to where he created and started the phenomenon of Vegas back in the early 60s.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the stories I'd have.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Scott, two people, one place. Where would you go and who would you talk to and what would you talk about?
I mean, not to be too on the nose, but it would definitely be Johnny and June because I didn't get to meet them in real life when they were with us. Well, I'd want to go to their house that unfortunately burned down in Hendersonville, Tennessee, outside Nashville. I just want to sit in the living room with them and talk about, I mean, really anything. I don't even know that I would want to ask specific questions about music, just chat for an hour. I mean, just as basic as it could possibly be. I don't know. I just think that would be pretty amazing. Looking out at the lake, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, wouldn't it be great? We've had some great answers to that question through the years. We've got a lot of viewers on here asking a bunch of questions and making some comments. Stephen Douglas Smith, who is a friend of yours, Andrew, said, if it isn't Judge Judy, Andrew won't know what it is.
If it isn't what?
He said, if it isn't Judge Judy, you won't know what it is.
Actually, true. I love Judge Judy. But yeah, Stephen, he's the drummer in Sixtiesmania.
Absolutely. And I know, I'm not sure you say the name correctly. Is it Miwa Ogletree?
Miwa Ogletree, yeah. She does our sales and marketing, actually. She helps on our social media. And she was our sales and marketing producer in Hawaii when we had the show that was Sheraton for 3 years.
Gotcha. And she said, oh, my God, Andrew, you are so far off. But she also had a question, had a question for me and said, have I ever taken any bands to overseas, Japan, for example? And actually, one of our artists, Charity Lockhart, who does an amazing tribute to Aretha Franklin, actually goes to Japan every summer. Actually, I think it's around about now she goes. But generally speaking, no. But if you can sort that out, meanwhile, we would love to bring all our Johnny Cash in Tokyo. I think that sounds like a good fit to me.
There's a big rockabilly scene in Japan too, and
huge.
Big.
Yeah,
is that right?
We went to Japan. We go every year. Actually, I'm supposed to be in Japan right now, and we cancelled. We're moving in October, and the music scene in Japan is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. We went.
Love Japan.
What they have there is just amazing, and they love music so much. And we went to see some Beatle bands. They can't speak English. Oh no, the best one was we went to Kentos. It's a they call it live club. They have a big band. I was watching a drummer singing, and he was singing Billy Joel, Just the Way You Are, and then he sang another Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire. Now, We Didn't Start the Fire, if you get the words wrong on that song, it's all over. It spits them out so quickly, right? Bang, 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 bang. You know, he rattled them off perfect diction, perfect English.
Wow.
Went to spoke to him afterwards. Couldn't speak a word of English to me.
Wow.
He just thank it. But they love their music in Japan. Phenomenal.
That's fantastic. Well, there's Drew Balo is on here, and Drew, great tribute to Garth Brooks, and he's asked, can you tell me one of your favorite venues that you've had a chance to perform in? So we may have already had that answer from Scott, but Scott, would you say what's one of your favorite venues to perform in?
I mean, as a tribute artist, I don't know, there are a lot, I guess, but I'm telling you, that Empire Theater in San Antonio was amazing. I mean, the Majestic and Empire theaters are just gorgeous. They're historic, and I got such a great response there. As far as venues in general, I don't know. I mean, I've played the Fox in St. Louis is unbelievable. It's so big. I mean, there's like almost 6,000 seats there. The Fox in Atlanta, same thing. The Fisher Theater in Detroit, it's amazing. But honestly, I'm a Maine boy. I live in the city, and need to for auditions and work and whatnot. But I'll always be a small town Maine kid, and there's something about going and being able to perform in my home state. Places like Maine State Music Theater in Brunswick, Maine. The Moreau Auditorium in Portland, Maine. There's a lot of great venues up there. So there's something real special to me about that.
Very cool. What about you, Andrew? One venue that you've loved to perform in? As
Scott said, it's very hard to have that one venue. Our first time you booked us last year, the first time we ever went down to Texas, and we had no idea what we're in for down there. But how's this going to go over and so forth? I would have to say that was one of the most fun weeks we had down there of just the people. We're getting like 600 to 900 people in these resorts, just loving every minute of the show. And that's priceless. I mean, sometimes you play a big venue and you don't get the energy off the people. Other times you play another venue where you get the energy off the people, and it's just a joy. And it's like it's over, and you think, I wanted to keep going. But there's many places here. I mean, some of the bigger casinos we played at over the years, like Spotlight 29 in Palm Springs, and you got 2,500 people going nuts there. And then other fun ones. The fun ones are different, like flying to Hawaii and playing outdoors in the at the Hilton under the stars. Yeah. And you're playing to an international audience of Japanese people there, and they're loving it. It's so many different things. I mean, we're so lucky to do what we do, I think.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I think I speak for all of us, you two and most of the, if not all of the artists that are watching, that our favorite venue is going to be the next one we perform at. And hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good answer.
Rather than later. Now, I've got to go back to a couple of these comments because, Andrew, you mentioned we didn't start the fire. And I'm all of a sudden getting a bunch of crap from people on the feed because I do a Billy Joel Elton John tribute with Nick. And let me see, Scotty Pearson said Terry still can't sing it right. And Linda Wolf says, yeah, but Nick nails it. They're trying to give me shit about that song, you see. So, big breath. Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red China, Johnny Ray, South Pacific, Walter Winchell, Jordan Maggio, Bill McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studebaker Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe. Boom.
Hi.
But I don't know anymore, so. McCallum just came on and said, what language is the Wolverine speaking? That was Glenn McCallum. Do you know Glenn McCallum?
Oh, I know him. He's also a 60s mania fella.
Okay. Awesome. Well, it's been great having both of you on the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on in our world, but Tad Talk is aimed at bringing a little bit of lighthearted fun to everything we do. And you two have been great on the show. If anybody out there gets a chance to see 60s Mania or Walk in the Line, please do. They're right up there at the top of all the shows that we do. They fill rooms. The audience goes out just feeling good, both a really high-quality show. And thanks to you, Scott, and thanks to you, Andrew, for being on the show. It's been
Thank
great.
you for having me. Thank you.
For having me, Terry. Thank you.
Welcome. Now, today, it's a little bit different for Tad Talk because we have two Tad Talks today. The one that comes up, let me see, it's in about 2 hours from now, is one you don't want to miss. Now, as musicians, early on in Tad Talk, I got the opportunity to interview Richie Canada, who is from the Lords of 52nd Street. He was with Billy Joel from the very beginning, played the sax parts on Scenes from Italian Restaurant, The Stranger, all of that. Phenomenal folk hero, if you like, in the rock world and with Billy Joel. And one of the things we were talking about was favorite bands. And he came up with Jellyfish. And I said, are you kidding me? Jellyfish are amazing. Nick, my son, introduced me to Jellyfish, and he got introduced to them by Christian Phillips. So once you go down the Jellyfish wormhole, you are hooked. Their album, Spilt Milk, is amazing. So we'll move it all a little bit forward a bit. And the keyboard player, songwriter, and vocalist, Roger Joseph Manning Jr., Jellyfish are now disbanded, and he's done a lot of solo stuff. And he has a new album, a new band called the Licorice Quartet. Him and Christian Phillips, who is, in my opinion, the best vocal arranger I have ever heard. And his album, The Sonic Executive Sessions, is one of the best albums I've ever heard, hands down. If you can, for the next 2 hours, go on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your digital music from, and check out Jellyfish, Spilt Milk, Licorice Quartet, and The Sonic Executive Sessions, and tune into Tad Talk, because Nick Davies, my son, he's going to be hosting that show, and the guests are Roger Joseph Manning Jr., and Christian Phillips, and it's going to be a blast. And I challenge Nick to keep it under 1 hour. Anyway, it's going to be great. Today's show was great. Tomorrow, Sam Kane is hosting the show. We've got two wonderful guests from the United Kingdom, Lorraine Brown and Sean Perry, both guest entertainers on the cruise ship, but not right now. They're sat at home, hopefully not for long. Thanks once again to Scott and to Andrew. Thanks to Ross, for our producer, who never gets to show his face on here, but we promise we're going to interview Ross on a show soon, because Ross came that close to becoming the world champion in Tetris. He reached 29. It's pretty impressive. So maybe we'll bring Ross on at some point. Thanks for joining us. 2 hours, Tad Talk, episode 16, with Nick, Christian Phillips, and Roger Joseph Manning Jr. Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.